everybody.
Welcome to the Way Podcast. My name is Chris Pentecost.
And I'm Michael Lavalley, and today on a journey to a non-conventional life, we talk about cloning.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a weird one because I've done some studies on cloning. It's also going to branch off into a couple other things related to cloning, which is sort of like a differential on what modern day cloning really is.
Yeah. And by the way, if you like the subject, just hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and on that, let's start the video.
That's good for the algorithm. Good job. he does a lot better at that than I do. But I was about to say ennui. Anyways, onto the subject.
Maybe we should clone Chris, but the version who can talk better, you know?
Exactly. Clone me and you're probably going to get someone who's handsomer. I want to start off today's subject with, do you really know anything about the cloning projects they've done in the past?
I mean, I know that Star Wars is a reflection of the reality because that's in the past.
You're talking about the Clone Wars?
Yeah.
You moron. I'm sorry. That was offensive. My apologies. No. It's not.
I don't know what's a moron, so that's good.
It was. So what you're referencing is the clones from the Clone Wars, how they use the same super soldier to make an army of super soldiers.
Yes.
That is not a reality, unfortunately. They have right? That would be amazing. But they have experimented with cloning in the past before. I actually pulled up an article here for a cloning project I used to know, a cloned sheep called Dolly. They were both born in 96, both died in 2003.
Okay.
Dolly was a female Fin Dorset sheep and the first mammal that was cloned from an adult somatic cell. She was cloned by associates at the Roslin Institute in Scotland. She lived for a good sheep's long lifestyle, and she got a lot of grass. But how do you think they grew that clone? How do you think it worked?
I mean, they take the cells and make them grow, I guess, like the DNA or something like that, I would say.
Yes, what they basically did was they took an empty sperm, filled it with DNA from the initial sheep, who was also named Dolly, not confusing at all. They filled up that fake sperm, put it inside Dolly's real eggs, and then had her give birth to herself. So it wasn't like a test tube baby. It was like they were still trying to follow the natural process while also making a clone.
But the thing with clones, I think that, you know, at one point, I don't think they will be exactly the same, because if they live the same experience, life experience and everything, like they might be the same, but then again, they have two perspectives. So let's say they talk to let's say we clone a person, and let's say that person talked to someone, well, interacting with others, like it's hard to explain, but you know.
I think I get what you're saying.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so let's, for example, say there's two me right now. Now I would be the one who's talking, and then my clone will listen. So he won't have the same experience as me. So in the end of the day, his knowledge and his
they would still be two different people.
Yes.
This is the concept of nature versus nurture. What comes naturally out of a person compared to what they're raised into.
Yes.
Because I'm sure if you had a clone and that clone was raised in a totally different household, they would grow up to be a different person.
Yes.
Still on the DNA level, you're clone,
Yeah.
but they would be a totally different person because of how they were raised. They could end up crazy.
Yeah, or maybe like the greatest person in the world. Like
They
we
could
never
end
know,
up more
but
successful. It all depends on what they were raised into, because I think nature versus nurture is a combination. There is no arguments. You need both in order to make a person.
Yeah.
Some people are just born special, or some people just raised in a special way to make them special.
Yeah.
That all doesn't depend on like what it's already set in stone when you're born. That's why cloning was so prevalent in the 90s specifically. There was actually a film that came out in 2000 with Arnold Schwarzenegger called The Sixth Day, where Arnold had a clone. And he didn't know about it at all. But the clone was like a secret agent and shit.
Yes.
This was all set in like the year 2300.
Okay.
So they had like a helicopter that you can control with one remote on the hand. You don't need like a joystick or anything. It's just like a little game controller. They had the only way you could tell the difference in the clones was the clones had a little tattoo underneath their eyelid.
Yeah.
That would show that you're a clone. And I'm not going to give any spoilers for the movie past that, but it is a really interesting movie, and it really made me start thinking, like, is this something that could happen? Did they clone, like, presidents?
I mean, I think maybe in the future that might be something.
I would get a little worried about that because they're already experimenting with some stuff, right? How do you think the process is going to go? Because the DALL-E project was just an experiment. It was just like, hey, we can do this. Should we do this?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we can.
Exactly. It's a similar thing of like, should we make something that has humanity? Or is that playing God? Is that going too far? That's why all the films in the 80s and 90s were basically like, humans are too busy playing God. We aren't concentrating on the nature of life anymore. Freaking Terminator, 6th Day, a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. It's weird. Yeah.
Maybe there's something there. Like
maybe he's a clone. Having to do with clones, there was actually a big theory. Well, this isn't really a theory. It's more like a conspiracy, more or less. Have you ever heard the Beatles theory?
I don't think so.
So Paul McCartney from the Beatles, a lot of people predicted he died in 1966 during a car crash, and one of his body doubles, one of his like stunt doubles, filled in for him for the rest of his life, and that's the person who is Paul McCartney today. Now that's weird because there was a whole offset of that as soon as the 90s rolled around where they're just like, maybe Paul McCartney was involved in a secret cloning experiment and he was the only successful one. No, it's not the case. Paul McCartney is real. He never died. He was just a weird guy in the 60s. So he made a lot of weird songs.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of that's interesting, I think.
Yeah, they have another theory about that with a more modern music artist named Avril Lavigne.
Okay.
But the whole fact behind it is that people get older and they change as they look older. If you looked at me 10 years ago, I would not look this way. You would not think I'd ever look this way, but here I am as is. I'm looking a lot like another YouTuber out there, Simon Whistler. If you know who that is, leave a like because he's freaking awesome. He's a big reason why I got a lot of the facts that I got. But going back to the cloning subject, they also do sort of a different version of this where they started making like, for hospitals, they'll like make organs. They'll make they'll grow other body parts on animals. Have you ever seen anything about like, I forgot what the experiment was called, but it's like a rat who grew an ear on its back?
No, I didn't saw that, but I saw a experiment where they grow like heart, and or like livers, lungs, and stuff like that. So that's kind of impressive that they could do that. They can do that. Like that's.
Yeah, it really is. I have no idea how that works.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know either. I'm not a scientist, but I just think that like if that keeps going like that, like maybe like we could like live longer than the current average year. Because if you could find a way to regenerate your cells and just like.
Well, they do have something similar to that as well. So on top of lab-grown organs and lab-grown meat, there's a stem cell research, which is a regenerative program. It's used for like stroke patients, for paraplegics, quadriplegics, to try to help regrow the connective cells in their spine. Because every human does have natural stem cells at the base of their spine. And the humans who have that in mass is newborns, infants, even like within the womb, babies. They have those stem cells in mass, which is a problem because the people who try to harvest that are literally killing babies. They're not killing them, but they're taking like abortions. They're taking failed pregnancies, and they're taking those children as long as the parents are willing to. They would word it in the sense of using it to help others who are in pain, which is true. They are using it for that aspect. And at that point, it's already like a dead body. So they have a very limited amount of time to collect the stem cells before they fully die. But those stem cells have been used in a mass amount of things for good benefits. They made a reference to it in Family Guy back in 2004, 2005, where Peter, the main character, had a stroke because he ate like 400 hamburgers. I was real jealous because that sounded delicious. But he stroked out, and then he went into a stem cell hospital, which had experimentational research with stem cells. Basically, they just took like a vial's worth of stem cells, injected him once. He walked out, and he goes up to a guy, he's like, "Hey, how long was I in there?" He's like, "About 20 minutes." He's like, "Why are we not funding this?" And I think a lot of people don't fund it because it feels immoral, and I don't think that's a good thing.
I mean,
how do you feel about it?
I think that's the evolution. Like we just discover new things every day, every year, and like that's life. I feel like
that's how humans grow.
If we go to a place that, like, but then again, like, is it good or not? Like, future will tell. But
for now, we can only take our best guess.
Yes, I mean, and I came to a realization that humans are kind of lazy because we invent like all those things to facilitate our life, like the AI, the cloning, like to get new pieces in our body and everything. But so it's all about like getting our life easier and last longer. And would it be good in the future? We don't know, but I think that's investment for our society, and that's good for like the economy and everything like that, because we invest in that and like make money, so that create a job. And like what would those people do if they weren't inventing or creating some stuff like that? Like they would
probably be working in a factory.
Yeah, but then the AI will be invented, so like it's a full circle, it's just...
No matter what, a lot of these things will come to fruition whether we want them to or not. Yeah. And it's not because of like mad scientists or people of power, it's just the progression of humanity. Yes. We like to discover, we like to invent, we like to create. Yeah. As a result, we're always going to find something new that we think no one else has thought of before. Yeah. And we use that in a sense to like you said, make our lives in general easier. Back in the 1950s, there was a big economic boom with inventions. There was, even back to the 1800s, there was like a washing machine that got invented. There was the car. There was refrigerators, so you didn't need to have an ice box anymore. All these air conditioning. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, everything that we know now has been invented by someone.
Yes, but there could always be a new invention. Yes. Like, who would ever thought we could, right now, Wi-Fi is a thing that would look like magic to someone 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. Go to someone in 1923 and you tell them, hey, I can make the video from your camera onto that TV without any wires. They look at you like you're a witch.
Yeah, probably.
It's because it's technology without explanation. It's just this thing of like, we've invented this thing and we want to make it progressive and we want to make it help people in the future. But I can't find the help in that for cloning. Because if they were to make a perfect clone, what would it do? How could it be perfect, and what would be the utilization of having that one person over?
I mean, it would have his own life, it would be a person entirely, and
unless it's just a holder place for a body. Like, I'm about to fuse this with our AI conversation real quick. Yes. What if they clone the same body, but it has absolutely no conscious or connectivity, so they implant someone's...
AI, like?
No, not AI, like someone's intelligence into it, using AI. So AI will come up with like a solution of like, why am I in this body? Why do I look like how I don't remember? They'll implant fake memories, so that way the person will believe they've always looked like that. I think that's where we might go if we continue on a cloning aspect.
Yeah. I mean, we could clone a body and then put the AI in it, so like that it will look like a human, act like a human, and have the intelligence of an AI, maybe.
That would be wild. That's similar to like I don't know if you've seen the Marvel movies, probably not because he doesn't watch anything. But there's a character in there called Vision,
Yes.
which is it's an artificial intelligence in the movies. It was originally owned by Tony Stark, but then stolen by a villain who was also made by Tony Stark, and then put into what was called the Perfect Body. So basically, it's this person who made their own like 3D printed body and input the AI into it, so it was a living person. But as a result, it also felt humanity.
Yeah.
It felt emotions, it felt errors. It was incredibly smart. But eventually it got so inducted into humanity that it made it stupider. In the sense that like it did not care as much about intelligence as it did about the emotions it was feeling.
Yeah.
If something didn't feel right to him, he automatically, no matter what the logical sense was, avoided it.
Okay.
This had been a conversation even back in like the 1970s and 80s. There was a show called Star Trek Enterprise where there was a character who is basically that. He's an artificial intelligence robot who is indistinguishable from a human except for like a weird skin color, and that's it.
Okay.
And he would like give you all the facts and knowledge, but eventually he grew more human as the show went on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of fun.
Yeah, because they learn from us, I guess, because they are like intelligent. So
Constantly learning.
yes.
Just like us.
And we create like the AI to our image. I feel like so so they are like us in a way. So
It goes back to religion.
Yeah.
Freaking God created man in his image. And that's because we just feel like the almighty beings.
yeah.
Which we are very smart, but I don't think we're the smartest thing in the universe.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of things in the universe. We maybe not. Like it's just.
Okay, so here's a fun thought experiment for you. If you were to clone yourself, what would you have your clone do if you could command it?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I could think of a couple of things.
Yeah. What would you do with your clone?
Hey, clone Chris, go get Riz now.
Riz?
Yeah, charisma.
Oh.
The modern day thing. We're too old to really click
Oh.
with the kids like that. But we got a TikTok. We know what the kids like. But yeah, Riz is basically like how confident you are, how much charisma you show towards people.
So you would give your clone more charisma?
Yeah, it'd be like, be the cool me. I'm gonna go be boring me and do paperwork and shit. Ironic how I flip-flop that. Normally you think I want to be the fun one, but no, I just want to get shit done.
Okay.
I like having fun, but if someone else does that for me and I make a good impression, I ain't gonna be mad.
But would you be connected with your clone so you had the emotion and the things that he's living?
That's, oh my god, that would be so cool if like we could just like connect brains and be like, oh, that was awesome. And he's like, I know, right? we connect like that, but
Yes.
I think there is something like that in media as well, and specifically in anime called Naruto, where it's like a shadow clone jutsu. That's where a person makes an exact copy of themselves, and when that copy dissipates, all the feelings, emotions, energy wasted, and thought experiences get transferred back into the original caster.
Yeah.
So that would be amazing if that could happen, but I feel like that's implausible for our modern day. At least cloning is plausible, AI is plausible, but I don't think
but maybe that's the next step, like, you know,
potentially.
like getting to know like all the emotion of other people just like by connecting something. I don't know, like just.
Do you think cloning is another form of immortality?
Yes, because if you can clone yourself like infinitely and transfer your memory, you could live forever.
Would you be a little worried about deficiencies in the cloning process?
Like what?
So whenever a cell regenerates or creates another of itself, they split the DNA, and to do that they use RNA. So when that DNA splits, there could be deficiencies in that DNA which cause that cell to turn cancerous or to die. Do you think that would happen on a mass scale?
I mean, if we are at the point that we could like clone people and, you know, just like create life from nowhere, I think that would be an issue. That won't be an issue because it would be like
we would perfect it by that
Yes,
point.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
Because,
Well, these are fun little thoughts.
yeah, I mean that's just that, but
Well, that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
Like I said in a couple of other videos, these are our opinions. These are not facts that we spit out. Sometimes we spit facts based on what we know. But at the end of the day, we just want to open conversation for these things to come up because these are conversations not a lot of people like to have.
yeah,
But on that note, I think we've done good on time.
yes,
If you like this video, make sure you like this video. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, hit that subscribe button because that means you probably like our content.
yes,
Follow our socials, they're available in the description. And the articles I talked about today and the movies I talked about, I'll give like references to in the description. So,
awesome.
other than that,
It's a wrap.